morning.
What's that?
We had a complaint that there was a box on the bridge. It's the box right there that was painted black. And the young girl at 8:30 came this morning and removed it.
She just said it's not tin laying there. Maybe somebody forgot it when we were doing ceremony last night.
Okay, because we got complaints that there was lots of activity on the bridge last night.
Ceremony. Look at the flights. We did a water ceremony because they're trying to destroy our water. I'm just getting annoyed of their bullshit tactics. They're making us, trying to make us look bad and send you guys all the time. And every time they do stuff to us, it takes you guys 2 hours to get here.
So you're blessing the water last night on the bridge, or what?
We're in prayers for the water because it's in danger right now. Because of this BS that's happening right now. It's not just this, they destroyed our traps, destroyed our trap line. Conservation wouldn't come till they already cleared. All of this adds up. And you got to understand our frustration. We've been here since time immemorial before anybody came to these lands, and your law can bend the rules to let somebody come in and destroy our land.
In particular, I've been going up there for about 4 years and participating. And I'll just share a couple quick thoughts about how I've been changed by that, and encourage you to find your points of connection if you haven't already. I think a lot of you have and are. My first visit was predicated on just an email call out from the Unistoten Support Brigade, which is a Vancouver-based group of supporters. And they happened to articulate a few of the things that I call my skills. So we need these in camp now. I guess it's me. So away I went, and was pretty blown away. There's people that literally are 10, 11 years deep in their commitment, living their whole lives around protecting that territory and living the life, bringing culture to people who have been separated for a long time. And the amount of work is amazing that has been done to build up the Healing Lodge, the bunkhouse, and a whole bunch more things, an incredible pit house project. And it's all basically in the pipeline right away. Nearing the end of my first stay there with my amazing partner, we enjoy our privacy, if I could put it that way. We live off the end of the road, and it's challenging being there in the bunkhouse with 20 other people, and everything is communal. That's a point I would make. And so I said to Frida, you know, I'm getting kind of squirmy being here in this intense, crowded situation. I said, what if I came back with my tent, my camper or something, and then I would be able to stay longer. As it is, I gotta get some space back. So she said, well, what would be the point? What would be the point? And then the light went on for me. Yeah, we're here to build community. We're here to have relationships. We're here to make this culture together that we need to protect our common life, to protect the land. And that's another piece of it, is get out there, spend time on that land, and you will stand boldly in front of those trucks trying to come up that road and say, no, you can't wreck this. We depend on it, we all do, and I hear that over and over again in these presentations, that we have to heal together, we have to heal the land together, we have to work from a better value system than these wealth concentratings, and I can feel myself starting to want to rant. You know what I'm talking about, connected dots, all these mega projects from the energy industry being funded with public dollars, no penalties, no oversight. They can pick and choose the laws that they enforce. I was going to tell you a little anecdote. Molly Wickham and Cody, her partner, have spent time at their table, eating their food, cutting firewood with them out on the land. And Liam's about 7, I think. And he now preaches to Lily, his 2-year-old sister. You don't have to talk to the cops because they could stop everything. They are. I can tell stories of harassment that would just make you cry. But that's the life they're living. They're committed. They're not comfortable. They're confronted daily.
In the Wet'suwet'en territory is an international issue. It's a global issue. What happens in their territory impacts not only us down here, but it impacts Australia as well. And it impacts China. It impacts the entire globe. And so it's really good for us to come together and raise our consciousness about how important it is to acknowledge and recognize that the people of Wet'suwet'en are standing their ground so that they can defend what sustains life. Fracking is such a horrible, horrible thing to happen because it destroys our sacred waters, the waters of life, and it causes earthquakes. They're in the woods up there. They don't have a high concentration of people up there. There are thousands of people who would wish that they could go up and stand with them. But not that many can. But others have. And so when we come together like this, and we do something meaningful, something that comes from straight from our hearts, to say yes, we stand with the Wet'suwet'en. We can stand with them because we can't be there with them. We can send money. We can send resources. We can send our prayers. We can send our love, our respect, and our gratitude, our deep gratitude for what they're doing. Because they're not only doing it for themselves, they're doing it for us too. And that's one thing that we have to remember. All the land defenders, that you see who are trying to save our salmon, trying to save and protect, life, they're the ones that we need to support. That's why the Wild Salmon Defenders Alliance is doing whatever we can to gather together to sell our t-shirts. Yvette John, she gives us salmon so that we can sell. And when we raise money, we send it to those people who have the strength and the perseverance to take a stand. The Canadian government and the corporations, they're holding them at gunpoint. Paramilitary forces, they're armed with assault rifles. And it has been said that they were ready to have snipers there. What was that all about? People who are peaceful, holding up their feathers, people doing sacred ceremony. Those are the people that you want to assault, with rifles. This is insanity. And it's unacceptable. And we can't tolerate that. Not here in Canada, not anywhere. So, what you're doing today by coming here, by answering the call, to come here and learn about what's going on up there, is a really, really powerful thing.
He is violating Wet'suwet'en law, trespassing on our territory and starting to destroy the land. They have already destroyed the heritage site. After bulldozing part of the forest, we searched through the piles of dirt for evidence of my people. We found artifacts. The archaeology branch of the government and police assistants came in and took the artifacts and then released news bulletins claiming the artifacts were not from their original place. They are trying to erase us from our own land. All these acts that continue are the acts of genocide. I am here today to make the UN aware of our continuous genocide happening in Canada and to demand that our Indigenous rights and laws are respected.
Tell ourselves, we'll live a little longer. We'll do something in honor of them. We'll do something in honor of all our relatives who are gone into the spirit world. And we'll do this, and we'll never give up. Because we can be a powerful people. We can collectively, as we're doing now, and to thousands and thousands of people around the world who started to wake up. We can be a force to be reckoned with as well. To move things in a better direction. To move things in the direction of life, of biodiversity. And so I'm going to sing this song, and it's going to be a prayer song. And we're going to collect all the prayers, all the good thoughts, and all the good feelings that each and every one of us have. Send it to the Creator. Send it to our great Papa, our great light spirit. We send that over to those people in the Wet'suwet'en territory. Shower love, shower strength, shower perseverance. Give them the knowledge and make them understand and feel that they're not alone, that they have us with them. And they have so many other people who care. We've seen the pictures of all the different supports that are going on across this turtle island of ours and around the world. So we can't give up. And when they know and they feel it, and that there's something that is meaningfully done, to support them that we're doing today, that's going to give them a little more energy. That's going to uplift them and persevere. There are court battles that are on the way, and we're going to need to support that. Because in this day and in this world, that's what it takes. It takes political and social and cultural and spiritual strength that needs to be put on the right side of history. And that is to save our planet, to save our sacred Mother Earth of ours from further destruction, so that future generations can benefit from this. This is the territory we share in common with Wapato, and we are part of the Colonial tribe. We've been in this territory for some 10,000 years.
Newcomers.
So when I left our community, they prayed for us. They prayed for the people. They prayed for my sister. They prayed for all of us. And so you can know that the Squaw First Nation is in solidarity and standing with the Wet'suwet'en people.
My name is Mike Gold, and yeah, like you heard, I am a fellow Chilliwack like you. I live here in Chilliwack. I have for most of my life. I've adopted the homelands of the Coast Salish people in the early 90s. But I did grow up in the interior. I am Wet'suwet'en on my mother's side. Member of the Laxilyu clan, the Small Frog clan. There's 5 clans that are part of the Wet'suwet'en First Nations, and through my grandmother, I'm very much associated still with my family. It's a very large family. But yeah, my journey led me here, and the last 7.5 years now, I found myself working for Stalo First Nations. My education and my background in forestry kind of led me to a position that they created dealing with consultation and rights and title. And that isn't the kind of work that you can go to school for. It's just they needed to find people that had some experience in industry, as well as had an understanding and respect for traditional First Nations governance, which is I still don't claim to have that, but it's part of my learning path and something I could contribute to the work that they did here at Stalo. And so that's something I'm very fortunate to have been a part of, and been a referrals manager for the last 7.5 years. And in the new year, I'll be starting a new position here as a federal engagement liaison, implementing a new agreement that we have with Ottawa. It's the first of its kind in Western Canada. So things are changing here. Things are changing politically. Things are changing across our country, across our world. And I'm very fortunate to kind of get to spend my days in the midst of all of that, learning and explaining to others what it takes to really understand the problems that we have in our country with Indigenous governance, and the whole history of consultation in itself is something that the Wet'suwet'en elders and leadership have helped in their struggles and fights with the courts to prove that where industry sectors and governance have claimed jurisdiction, it's not valid in our province. There's no treaties in place. It was literally unceded territory. And when they don't have the legal jurisdiction to do so. And so they've set up this construct where they consult with First Nations before they make decisions. I'm not aware of that anywhere else in the world. But it's something that we're continuing to deal with here until that land claim question gets settled. It's something that it's just not settled here. It's not clear to anybody if the government could continue to make decisions on stolen land. So my grandmother, Lucy Rose Berrigan, she passed away a few years ago. Her traditional name is Guwe, which means the gambler. Her traditional name is yet to be reclaimed or handed down to the next generation. She had 15 children. My mother was one of 11 sisters, 9 sisters and 6 brothers. And between them, they can't agree on who deserves her name. And the way those kind of decisions get made in our feast house, the wing chiefs and the hereditary chiefs have to agree on when a name gets handed down, and it needs to be handed down to the most deserving or appropriate person that's been groomed to take over that name and the responsibilities that go with that name. I think it's in that court case. But it was named the Delgamuukw case because it was in Chief Delgamuuk's territory, and he had responsibilities for that territory. And so we tried to prove in court that we still had title, that we had never been conquered, we hadn't signed over our territory. And the BC government disagreed, or the BC courts disagreed. They ruled against us. And that court case kept elevating to higher levels of government, or levels of court, until it ended up in the Supreme Court of Canada almost 20 years later, and we won. We proved that we didn't surrender our lands. We still have a decision-making process that was functional. We still have a feast hall system where decisions are made on behalf of our people. And we still have the hereditary chiefs, we still have their wing chiefs. There was still a system that hadn't been broken. They tried like they did everywhere in North America, but ours was still functional. It went underground for decades, and we managed to practice ceremonies and host our potlatches and remember our ceremonies and our songs. But through that court case, the Supreme Court judges agreed. Yeah, Canada, you didn't sign a treaty with these people. You don't have authority on their lands. And it settled a lot of the question about whether oral history was allowed in the courtrooms. And it settled a lot of questions that other tribes have since gone to court and built on since then, including the Tsilhqot'in case back in 2016. They've proved title now. They've got jurisdiction over a portion of their traditional lands. But that court case, the 20-odd years that it also took a lot of gas out of our people. It took a lot of money and resources and time. It helped concentrate a lot of effort in research, and we've got a lot of great books that came out of that. So we've got textbooks now. We've got lawyers that are now more familiar with the true history that happened in our territory. Unlike what we have down here in Coast Salish territory, it gave us a lot of our heritage back, but we didn't have the consensus internally to move ahead with an actual title case again. We have yet to take that next step, the way the Tsilhqot'in did. And it took the Tsilhqot'in 20 years. They filed their court case right after the Delgamuukw decision, and it took them 20 years. And they didn't get it all. They got a percentage of it, and they can't agree amongst themselves how to proceed. They're having a hard time because they didn't get it all, and they don't have consensus amongst all leaders on how they're going to manage their lands. But it's just so, I guess, indicative of the situation that we're all left with. As Canadians, trying to understand the history, why are the natives getting restless again a year later after what happened in the same area, same time, same week last year? How is this happening again? Nothing's been settled. Nothing's changed. And that strikes me as not just a result of what the residential schools did to our family, but it's a result of colonization. It's something that was taken from us. The Indian Act was designed to systematically dismantle governance, the traditional governance systems that were in place across the country. There's over 500 tribes and dialects and languages that we know that were spoken here before Columbus showed up. And each one of those tribes had their own traditional form of governance. It was something that evolved over thousands of years. Developing a balance with the natural world, and the decision making that had to be in place in order to not just function internally but externally with our neighboring tribes, and sharing of resources. And I don't want to paint an overly romantic view of what life was like over those thousands of years, but it was governance in its simplest form. And a lot of tribes here across Turtle Island have lost that. It was taken from us. So we got to figure out our own truth about what's really happening in this world. And I think because enough of us don't know what's really going on, the corporations are just kind of having their way, and the governments are paving the way for them to do it. And it doesn't really seem to matter who we vote for. It just doesn't seem to change. And I've got direct family. I've got cousins that were the first people to establish the camp at the Unistoten. And got the coordinates from my uncle, who did a little bit of undercover work to find out where these pipelines were being proposed 12 years ago, and determined a good location, strategic location to build this healing center on the Maurice River, so we could reoccupy our lands and prove that this wasn't going to be we weren't going to just roll over for these corporations. And it didn't matter if they had an agreement with our neighboring First Nation band offices or not. We have a traditional form of governance that needs to be respected and needs to be the ones that give consent on the territory.
Yeah! Woo!
Probably 9 years ago, around the time the Cohen hearings, Eddie was in Vancouver there, I sort of fell in with the wrong crowd. And started learning about these things from a number of people in this room and some who aren't with us today. I've been to quite a few of this sort of event. Sometimes it's a different issue or whatever. And there's no uniformed RCMP in this room today. This event was organized primarily by settler people. And in my experience, the injustice angers me. In the years that I've been getting involved in these kinds of things, whenever I've gone to an event like this that's been organized by Indigenous people, there are uniformed RCMP present.
Yes.
You see it. That's,
yes.
Time and time again.
Yeah.
Even at our friend Larry Commodore, his birthday, in the band hall, there was a uniformed RCMP presence. Why is there no uniformed RCMP here? On the one hand, because this event was organized by settler people, and perhaps because we aren't doing enough to be seen as a threat.
Before everybody leaves, I just want to mention a couple of things. I'm happy that Ian brought up that observation. There's no RCM police here.
Yeah.
My wife She always tells me, when you go out, don't get arrested, Eddie. She says, if you get arrested, make sure you get arrested with white people. Don't be subjected to so much brutality. So, I took that to heart. As I was introduced, I'm part of the Wild Salmon Defenders Alliance, and we have a working group. And Dan Coulter is part of that working group, along with Mike Gildersleeve, Hilda Tompkins, and Yvette John. So Yvette John and I are two Wilma from the territory, and the other are settlers, people, human beings. And we try to attract as many people as possible, to come and join, the work that is here. We just have that core group that does the work of the Wild Salmon Defenders Alliance. But it's intercultural. It's something that we work together because we know that we're all stakeholders in this situation that we're facing right now with so much climate change that's going on. And we're all in this together. And we have to learn to work together. We have to learn to love one another. We have to learn to respect and show gratitude for one another for what we want to do, to make sure that 7 generations down the road we're going to have a beautiful place for those people, those who are unborn, in honor of our ancestors who took care of the land for thousands and thousands of years. So when we do our work, in the beginning we took up the Wild Salmon Defenders Alliance cause to get fish farms out of the water, out of the migration routes of the wild salmon. And we're supporting the Suweten people who are basing their case to get the fish farms out of the migration route of salmon under the water. So Jack Woodward, he's the lawyer who won the suweten case. And he's a very powerful lawyer, and he has a multi-pronged project to get that job done. And we organize lots of demonstrations, lots of public awareness in front of the grocery stores about boycotting net farm salmon. And as things intensify, and yeah, by the way, don't eat. Bad for the environment, bad for the salmon. But it's, I'm sure a lot of you know about that. But it's, when things have intensified and we really looked at what was going on, we dropped that, going in front of these stores and promoting a boycott of Atlantic farm salmon. And we said, we got to start fundraising and send money to those in the front lines. And so that's what we did. And that when you talked about, last year, that Molly Wickham, she sent that message. She sent that message to the event that we organized in my village to support the Wet'suwet'en people. And we raised a good amount of money at that event. And we organized another fundraiser. We keep organizing fundraisers, to send to the front lines. And so I'm very happy that our working group has decided that we're going to send $2,500 to Wet'suwet'en.
They have already destroyed the heritage site. After bulldozing part of the forest, we searched through the piles of dirt for evidence of my people. We found artifacts. The archaeology branch of the government and police assistants came in and took the artifacts and then released news bulletins claiming the artifacts were not from their original place. They are trying to erase us from our own land. All these acts that continue are the acts of genocide. I am here today to make the UN aware of our continuous genocide happening in Canada and to demand that our Indigenous rights and laws are respected.